Hey, I'm Candace Scalese. This is CBS 21 Next. We are live at the farm show right now. So I'm going to give you a little look and then we're going to get into today's story. So this is the tractor area with the giant expo center here. We have our CBS 21 studio booth, so you can come by and say hello today. And then we have the weather center, which is where I'm standing, where our chief meteorologist, Tom Russell, will be in a bit. So that's where we are. I want to check in with Alex Thill right now because we are doing a story about taxpayer money and some vandalism that happened and how much it's going to take to repair it. So Alex, working in Gettysburg today, give us a little background about what you're looking into, Alex.
Yeah, Candace, hi everybody. So I'm actually, you can kind of see the Pennsylvania Monument Memorial behind me. So I'm on the battlefield in Gettysburg right now, where there were actually 23 monuments that were defaced. And
wow.
I came initially here today, thought it was just a handful, and I spoke with the communication specialist who told me there were actually 23 that were defaced an oil-based substance. And you're looking at some of the pictures now. This is on the monument I just showed you, the Pennsylvania Memorial, and then there were a handful of others that were also defaced. And pretty much what he tells me is they speculate that it has to do with some sort of spiritual, ritualistic attack or motive. They're not sure. It's suspected right now, but they tell me that the way that the oil was thrown was almost like a blessing, sort of, the way you would see a priest in a church, kind of that similar thing as well, and that the oil was sweet. So it was kind of an oil that was used in some sort of a blessing is what they are suspecting that this is. And they tell me that 22 out of the 23 monuments were actually able to be completely restored. So we were looking around. You can't tell that any oil was actually on those monuments. But the Pennsylvania Memorial, which is the big one that I'm in front of right now, that one has been a little trickier. And that is what is potentially costing taxpayers some money because it's taking multiple rounds of conservation efforts in order to preserve it. And also it's taking some of these park rangers away from other projects that are happening on the battlefield. So there's 6,000 acres of land here, and there's a lot of projects happening all the time. So when something like this happens, it actually ends up taking rangers away from other projects, and then those projects get delayed, and that's what costs the taxpayers the money.
Wow. Do they have any idea who did this, who's behind the defacing and why?
So they have an active investigation into it right now, and they couldn't elaborate because the investigation is ongoing. But I'm sure we'll find out who is behind it when that is closed. But they didn't name any suspects. What they did tell me, though, which is an interesting detail, is that all of the monuments that were targeted were Union monuments. So they were erected for Union soldiers. No Confederate monuments were targeted, which is an interesting. So they don't know more about why or who potentially is behind that, or if there's any motive specifically targeting Union versus Confederate. So that'll be interesting to see what more comes out about that in the future after the investigation is wrapped up. But that was an interesting thing we did learn. And what the communication specialist also told me is that they might not have even known about all of this if it weren't for the maintenance crews on site, because maintenance is actually caught this. So maintenance was out kind of just doing their normal cleanup efforts when they spotted the oil on this particular picture you're looking at right there. That's the Pennsylvania Memorial. A little bit trickier. So they found that, and it was all on this one part of the battlefield. And then that's when some of the rangers started to look at other monuments, and they saw that it was actually much more than they initially thought. And so those pictures that you were just looking at, the two steps that they already completed were power washing and just trying to wipe it down with what's called D2. It is a substance that's used on headstones for graves, that lichen and other, natural growth on headstones that happen after a long period of time. So they tried that. That worked on 22 of the 23 monuments. This one, though, they're now using a earth element that they have to mix into a type of clay and then put on the monument, and then it's supposed to pull out that oil. But because it's cold, the rock is so tight that the oil it's not removing. So they're actually not able to fully get this particular monument restored until the spring when the weather's a lot warmer. So again, that's another reason why this conservation effort is taking a long time and why it could cost taxpayers a lot.
Not just a simple process here. Do they have an estimate? I know it sounds like they are doing step by step, trying everything they can before it costs them more money. But do we have an estimate of how much it's going to cost, or have they gotten to that stage yet?
We don't have a specific estimate, but what he did tell me is that it's thousands of dollars per monument, depending on how long something like this could go on. So, by the time that this monument is cleaned up, they'll have more of an idea. But it really just depends on how many other projects in this area are delayed. And it also kind of depends on Mother Nature, right? How warm it gets, when it warms up soon. If it's a particularly cold winter and that goes all the way into the spring, then it might be a little more difficult for them to try and clean up that monument. They might not even be able to start till early summer. So when that, they'll have more of an idea.
Have you talked to, when you go back to saying like certain monuments were targeted, like the Union monuments, have you talked to anyone from either political party about their thoughts about that?
I was able to talk to Senator Doug Mastriano, and he told me, obviously, he condemns anybody who is defacing these monuments. And he says, that memorials and statues are here to honor the truth and facts about the war, the history that obviously it's a place where lots of visitors come to learn about the soldiers, to learn about the history of the battles. And when something like this happens, it takes away from all of that. And so Mastriano said, when you're here, encourages visitors to do is obviously enjoy the monuments, but also be vigilant, eye out for any potential suspicious activity that you might see. This is based on the communication which you'll hear from tonight. But so you can report any suspicious activity that you see to park rangers or park officials, but they also tell me that you should actually just call 911. And that is much easier for them to track down quicker. So if you're in the park, I know it's kind of off season because it's colder and it's slower out here, but again, clearly things like this happen all year round. So just remain vigilant, keep your eyes out for potential suspicious activity when you're out here.
Yeah, it seems like whoever did this vandalism knew something about what they were doing, considering the fact that it's oil and it's stuck and now it's difficult to get rid of. So it was obviously somebody who researched it or had some kind of background. Doesn't seem like it was just some random, teenagers goofing off kind of thing. It might be a little more intricate. I mean, I'm saying that as an amateur who knows nothing about the investigation, but just based on what you're saying about the kind of damage that was done into the number of monuments, it seems like it might have been a little more calculated. So interesting to see what happens when they figure that out, and as the process continues to try to repair these monuments and get them back to their standard, essentially, and how much that will end up costing. Anything else you want to add? I know you found out a lot about, this story today, but anything else I didn't ask you?
The only thing I would say is make sure to tune in at 5 to hear directly from Marts, and then again at 6 to see sort of how that effort has progressed. He also did tell me that if come springtime, they're still not able to get the oil marks out, that's when they'll call in the cavalry, as he said, which is the big experts who are, much bigger than the Gettysburg Park, who will be coming and take care of it. So the goal is to eventually clear it up completely. And he said they'll be able to get that done, if not with them, from higher up experts. So tune in at 5 if you want to hear directly from him too.
So there is a solution. It's just about when and how much money it's going to cost.
Exactly.
Alex, thank you. All right. We will see her live at 5 o'clock today. You can always watch our broadcast, cbs21.com. Just click live stream, and then you can watch it, find out more about this, because people from around the country come to Gettysburg to see the monuments, to walk the battlefield, to learn about America's history. And it is the 250th year, right, of our birth. So I know a lot of people are going to want to come and celebrate during this year and this anniversary. So thank you, Alex, for your time, and thank you guys for joining us today. And we will be live at the Farm Show today for our 5 and 6 o'clock newscasts as well. So if you are in Pennsylvania or the neighboring states and you want to drop by, we have our CBS 21 booth set up right here. We've got Tom Russell and Joel D in the background right here getting ready for the show. I think Tom might be eating some cheese cubes. So we're going to be talking about that too later on today. All right. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for joining us and have a blessed day.